I've heard a complaint from a friend that when he bought a Line 6 device, he was overwhelmed by the need to train golden ears so that he could tweak properly. He admitted that the prospect of spending hours upon hours of tweaking diminished his enthusiasm. So,
I've got an idea!
I'm going to propose the factory settings challenge. The goal of this challenge is to answer the question, can we get a Sunday ready sound without tweaking? Everything I'm going to use in this signal chain will be factory settings only, with two exceptions. First, I can change subdivisions in time-based effects for, data 8. And second, I can turn on trails for delays and reverbs so that disabling them live isn't unnatural. And just for that extra challenge, I'll be using a non-standard praise and worship guitar, one that isn't Gretsch or Fender or Gibson, my Yamaha AES 820 with a custom Damasio pickups which can coil split. So without further ado, let's get tweaking. Factory setting loading. Let's go with a Fender style amp. I know we jumped straight to the AC30s and the A15s and your matchstick amps, but let's try something that's a bit out of the wheelhouse, as it were. Let's load up a deluxe normal. Which is very clean. It starts to break up just a little bit because the drive is a bit high, but that's okay because we want to let the light picking passages be compressed by the amplifier. It brings up the 1x12 Deluxe, which is pretty okay, I guess, but I want to use something a bit less boxy. I want a bit more open sound. 1x12 Princess is a bigger sounding kind of cab, and it loads up with the 121 ribbon mic at 4 inches away, so we know that there's not going to be a lot of bass build up right off the bat. Yeah, you can hear that there's not so much of that boominess in the low, middle to low frequencies. And then you can start to overdrive just a little bit just by digging in with the strings and with the bridge pickup. That's pretty decent. Let's move on to the compressor, which I want to have something a bit more heavily compressed, like the default settings on the Kinky comp. I'm not sure whether you can hear it, but there is a bit of buzz because the noise gate is not on. So turn on that input gate. The default settings are alright. It's just to get rid of that fizz when the notes are not being played. That makes lead playing, even on cleans, quite easy to play because it's so heavily compressed. I think you do stuff like this. Yeah, I'm not even pressing the strings that hard, and those notes are popping out. Again, just for the challenge, I'm going to use something a bit less P&W-ish. I'm not going to go with a Klon style or the Timmy style or even the King of Tone style. I'm going to go with something that we don't really use very often. At least I don't see it being used very often nowadays. Let's try an OCD style overdrive. Which is pretty cool. Or stuff like I always like the OCD kind of style because it really pushes off those mids to the forefront, and it is going to be cutting above that mix. Quick aside, are you finding value in this video? If you are, I'd love for you to hit the like button as it lets me know that content like this is relevant for you, encourages me to make more like this, and YouTube sends it out to more people. Thank you. Next up, let's look at delay and reverb, the two most essential effects in praise and worship. Let's go with something like, why don't we try the transistor tape today? And as per rules of engagement, I'm allowed to change this to subdivisions, quarter notes at 40% mix and 100% scale. So this is not going to be ping-ponging back and forth. It's going to be... Excuse me, let's turn this off. hope you can hear this over YouTube, but some delays like the transistor tape have this nice modulation effect at the tail end of the delay, which kind of hugs the notes and it produces a pseudo kind of reverb. Back in my day with analog pedal boards, we didn't have reverb pedals on the board because we assumed that the delay was going to provide that sort of ambience. Let's play one of the riffs. That makes me want to try something different. Let's try a chorus, because why not, since we already have pseudo reverb from the delay anyway. Let's go with a 70s chorus. Let's see how it sounds like. Okay, that's a little bit too wobbly for my taste, so I'm going to try and change up something else here. What else do we have? Let's try the plastic chorus. Now, because of the compression in front and because the bass is a bit higher on the amp as I would normally not prefer it to have, you can hear that the modulation causes the bass to be a bit more prominent, and therefore let's try and find something a bit lighter on the chorus side of things. Yep, that works too. Or the Trinity chorus. Yep, I found it, the brightest kind of chorus. You can stop here because that delay is providing ambience, but I'm a man of my word, so let's go and find a reverb. Looks to me that I have a smorgasbord and can choose any of the reverbs. It's pretty great. If we go with the dynamic hall, something I've wanted to try for a long time. That's a very nice trail. In fact, why don't I turn this guy on and let's try doing... Let's try something faster. And that's very, very surprising to me because the reverb isn't overtaking the tone, the delay is getting out of the way because it's a transistor tape, it's not meant to be very bright anyway. And why don't we try something else just for the fun of it since we're here? I'm going to try something like Searchlights. What do I get? That's quite a nice modulated reverb. Why don't we go with, of course, the shimmer. Alright, so right now it's jumping. The volume is jumping so much because this compressor is grabbing the audio coming out of the volume pedal right here. To avoid that unnatural jump in volume, move the volume pedal after the compressor and before the amp. Let's see what we get. Okay, one slight problem that I'm having is that because the default settings has a +7 here in the semitones, which means that it's like a major 7. Some intervals in the scale won't work because with a +7, it's just going to cause a clash in tonality. So if I'm allowed to change anything, which I'm not, I'll just do it for fun anyway, I'll turn this down to an octave down actually, which will cause it to sound like this. Strike one, I made a change on the pedal, I'm sorry. Per rules of engagement, I'm allowed 3 strikes, right? So strike 1 was the shimmer. Here's gonna be an intentional strike 2. I wanna get clean, crunch, and lead. And right now, I only have 2 levels of gain. Clean, right here. Crunch, right here. I want to get a lead sound, and one way to do that is to use the equalizer as a boost pedal, which will either boost into the overdrive and get more gain out of it, or post overdrive where it's more like a volume boost. And today, let's try something a bit different. I'm going to use a tilt EQ, which I want the 700 to 800 hertz to be boosted a little bit so that we get more power in the cabinet. And because it's really a bass heavy tone based on the amps tone stack here and based on the fact that it's a 1-2-1 ribbon microphone, I don't need this boost to be even more bassy. So let's tilt it to be brighter and bring it up to 25. Let's center the frequency down to 600, 700, because that's where the cabinet power comes from. And I'm going to boost this by quite high. Let's make it 6 dB, and we can hear how this sounds like. In fact, I can turn this off and still get a pretty decent rhythm tone, and you know, this really reminds me of Now, since we've established that the delay can function like a reverb, I'm going to change this to the shimmer so that I have a swell kind of sound. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to assign this to foot switch. So with 3 switches, I can get clean. I can get gain. I can get lead. And then turning those off and just turning on the shimmer, I can get a ambient swell tone. And that was all through factory default settings. I hope you were as surprised as I was. I hope today's demonstration has proven that how you play the guitar, like nailing down your parts and navigating the fretboard well during improvisation, is far more important than what you use to play. If by some catastrophe my entire Pod Go preset library gets deleted before service, I don't have to panic. All I need to do is load up blocks without tweaking, set up some simple effects bypass, and I will be able to survive the Sunday. If you enjoy watching Pod Go tone setup walkthrough videos like these, I have one right here that tackles a common problem for church guitarists: going mono when you have stereo effects. I talk about how I tweak the presets so that it sounds great both in stereo and in mono. See you there.